Would Kenneth Ryan please come up? Kenneth Ryan is Earl Ryan's son. When Earl Ryan died on April 27, 1982, Nova Scotia lost one of its greatest athletes. He was born in Antigonish. He competed at one time for Truro, and he worked much of his adult life in Yarmouth. The people from Mulgrave don't want to hear any of that. He was reared there, and while circumstances took him elsewhere, he will always be known as the best all-around athlete the town has ever produced. Earl Ryan was an accomplished rackets player. In 1928, with partner Bobby Donahue, he took the Nova Scotia junior tennis doubles. When he took the time out from his more serious training to enter the Canzo tennis tournament, few thought he'd do much. He won the men's doubles, the mixed doubles, and the men's singles. In 1934, he entered the Straight Canzo badminton tournament with similar results. After winning the doubles, he took on Ignatius McNeil in the finals of the men's singles. He won the best-of-3 final, 15-3, 15-4. In later life, he took up curling and golf. In golf, he became good enough to win the seniors at the Yarmouth Golf and Country Club Championships in 1970, 1971, 1972, and 1973. The highlight of his golfing career, however, occurred on September 20th, 1966, when he had to buy everyone in the club a drink because he just made a hole-in-one. Earl Ryan's not being honored tonight for these accomplishments, but rather because he's one of the best track and field athletes the province has ever known. Back in the 1930s, thousands of Nova Scotians would regularly attend track meets to see field athletes like Tiny Herman from Glace Bay and world-class sprinters, the likes of Haligonians Frank Nix and Eileen Marr and Lunenburg's Fred Fox, and world-class marathoners, the likes of Con Olson from North Sydney and Roy Oliver from Thorburn. In this era of great champions, it was Earl Ryan who would most often win highest aggregate point total. He would frequently win the pole vault, the long jump, and the triple jump. If for some reason Fox and Nix weren't there, he'd also sometimes win the 100 and 220. Though it's not his specialty, he was pole vault champion in the Maritimes in 1933. In 1935, he cleared 12 feet. Now, before anyone in the audience sneers at this height, remember that the poles in this day were made of steel, which was built strong enough so that it wouldn't bend. If this doesn't impress you, picture modern-day pole vaulters coming down into a 1930s pit, which contained nothing but a few inches of sand on top of packed earth. Even when you landed on your feet, the jolt you got was like the shock treatment Tommy Sweet receives every morning before going to work. Why else would anybody go to work after having 17 retirement parties? Though long jump wasn't his best event either, in 1933, Ryan managed to break Phil McDonald's 11-year-old record. McDonald, you might recall, was a Spud Islander who went to the 1912 Olympics. Ryan set new maritime records in 1933, 34, and again in 1935. He set a mark of 22 feet 9 inches at Sydney's Old Home Week Games. It stood as the maritime record for 25 years. Ryan's greatest claim to tonight's induction, however, has yet to be mentioned. In Canadian track circles, he's remembered as a triple jump champion. In 1930, Ryan competed in the Antigonish Highland Games. At the time, the Nova Scotia record was 40 feet. The best he'd ever done at that point was 38. On his third jump, he managed 41 feet 1 inch and was the new Nova Scotian record holder. His greatest accomplishment came in 1932 when he went off to the Canadian Olympic trials in Hamilton. The best 3 Canadian hop-step jumpers, as they were called at that time, were Ryan, Jack Sector from Winnipeg, and Montrealer Leo Hutton. The winner, of course, would represent Canada in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, since all 3 had already bested the Olympic standard. Not unlike Lee Miller and Gertrude Finney in 1928, Ryan won the event, but he never donned an Olympic uniform. He became the Canadian champion when he jumped 43 feet 2.5 inches, but the Hamilton-based Canadian Olympic Committee decided that Ryan could go, but only if he paid his own expenses. Earl Ryan's Olympic dream went up in his inability to do exactly that. He was, however, hard-pressed to remember his disappointment when on one fall evening the town of Mulgrave honored his track accomplishments by making a bunch of speeches, by singing "He's a Jolly Good Fellow," and by throwing him in the air. They said the same thing in 1970 when he retired after 30 years as a chief officer in the CN Marine. Tonight we appreciate all his personal characteristics, which endear his memory to his wife Irene, his son Kenneth, who's on the stage, his daughter Carrie, and his grandchildren. But we induct him to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame because Earl Ryan will always be remembered as one of our great athletes.
I'd like to call on Fred Fox from the selection committee representing the South Shore. Fred? Again, Dr. Young has articulated and chronicled your father's accomplishments. He is not here with us this evening to enjoy this evening. Maybe you can tell us how proud you are of his accomplishments.
Well, I'm very proud to be here tonight to accept this award on my father's behalf. I know he's looking down on us from somewhere. I always remember my dad. He was very interested in sports. He'd walk in the living room. He'd have two televisions going, football on one and golf on the other.
So he always had an interest in sports, and father and son relationships, some fathers constantly are telling their sons of their accomplishments. Was that indeed the case with your father?
No, my father was quite modest. The trophies were always there from behind her, and he never pressed, for like myself or my sister to, well, we did our own thing.
But did he make you aware? So you really weren't aware as you grew up of the accomplishments?
Not as much as been brought out here tonight, really.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Earl Ryan.